Okay, so with the NRL season just over a month away, I always pose this question in the build up to the season, and it's to do with the Penrith Panthers and can they continue their dominance by winning five in a row? Last year I asked the question, could they win four? They did that. The year before I posed the question, could they win three? And obviously they did that. So they're making history with the fact they've had five grand finals in a row, winning four of them. Can they make it five in a row with six grand final appearances? A record that in the modern era I don't think will be surpassed with what they've done so far and what they could potentially do. And the last time we saw a team this dominant was the St George Dragons side of the 60s. And again, that's not in the modern era. So since the NRL has been a competition since 1998, this has not been done. The Brisbane Broncos couldn't do it. The Great Canberra Raiders sides couldn't do it. The Melbourne Storm, okay, even if you add those two strict Premiership titles in there, they technically haven't done this many in a row. The Roosters only managed back-to-back titles, so what they are doing is ridiculous. But can they make it five? And I always argue for and against. So what goes for them is their system, their structures on and off the field, and the coaching of Ivan Cleary. There's no doubt on that. Their talent depth, there's no doubt on that either. And a lot of credit has to be given to Ivan Cleary in how he coaches this side and how he tactically sets the side up in attack and defence with his assistants. And bearing in mind, it's not just players they've lost over the last 5 or 6 seasons, it's assistant coaches as well. Cameron Serraldo being one of them, who's now gone on to become a head coach at the Bulldogs. So not only are they losing players, they're losing coaches. And they still find a way to win. It's the next man up mentality. And also a lot of credit has to be given to now the director of football at Canterbury, Gus Gould, who was director of football at Penrith, who had a lot to do with why the team are so successful now. The pathways got completely reformed and refurbished and rebuilt, and the structures with the youth pathways, the recruitment has been also transformed as well, and a lot of the support off the field for the team on the field, in part, Gus Gould engineered those systems, and they're reaping the rewards of it. Even though he has now moved on from the team and the organisation, Gus Gould has to be credited with a lot of the success that is happening right now, in part because he got Ivan Cleary in as head coach in the first place and then completely restructured the off-field stuff in regards to, as I say, recruitment, youth development, pathway systems, and maximising the potential of their catchment area in regards to youth talent. So the system works flawlessly. But this season, I do think it is going to be a lot harder than in the previous seasons because of the players they have lost. They've lost their top try scorer in Taruva, which I think won't hurt them as much as it could have done. It could have been had that been another player. So they've lost Taruva, who was their top try scorer last year. They've lost the leader of their forward pack, James Fisher-Harris, who's now gone to the Warriors, and they've lost Jerome Luai, who has gone to the Tigers and has now been named co-captain at the Tigers. So how will this impact the side? Well, every season, even after they lost that grand final in 2020, they lost Kurt Capewell. And then every season since then, they have lost players that needed to be replaced. And each player that they have lost has contributed, quite importantly, to the side getting over the hump at the end of the season in the grand final. So you've lost Burton, Crichton, obviously Capewell, Charlie Staines, who is a good winger, and his strike rate at the Panthers was ridiculous. Not so good at the Tigers. Injury has sort of hampered him a little bit at the Tigers, plus the Tigers haven't been very good and haven't scored nearly as many points, but he's still contributed at the Tigers. Coruscant, who was the starting hooker to begin with in this dynasty, and now they've lost Fisher, Harris, Luai and Taruva. Yet somehow they find a way to win, but I do think it's going to be harder this season. As I mentioned, I think they can deal with the loss of Taruva. I don't think that's a massive loss. While it is a loss because he's the top try scorer, there's plenty of scoring depth. They score by committee. There are tries all over this team. It's not just a few outside backs and maybe a couple of forwards popping over with the tries. It is everyone. There is scoring depth throughout this team. But I do think losing Fisher-Harris from the pack, that go forward off the first kickoff, that initial aggression and that defensive leadership, I think will be a big, big miss. Liotta's still there. and they've got some good players obviously coming through. Maverick Geyer, I think, is a very versatile forward and is basically his father's son. With a name like Maverick, you've got to be a bit mad. But is he ready to step up into that void and be more of a leader and play more minutes? But there are other young forwards as well. But Maverick Geyer is the one I'm picking out because he's come through their youth system. His father was a legend at the club, and he's becoming a bit of a cult hero at the club himself. Still got to refine his game, but they lost Willie Army Kickout down that left side. People said that was going to be a big loss. It was going to disrupt the left side. It did for a bit. It became a bit clunky down Luai's side of the attack, but they figured it out. Their system helped them figure it out. So they've lost key forwards before, but I think Leota is going to miss Fisher Harris in that 1-2 punch. And I think the forward pack is going to have to adapt to not having Fisher Harris in training and part of the starting lineup, which obviously gives go forward to Kenny to then give the ball to Cleary or whoever his half partner is to then start attacking phases of play. That's going to be a bit of a big loss, I think, and that could lose the forward pack that get go forward a little bit because Leota is going to be the main guy to start the first set of interchanges. He's going to be the main guy. They've got to get another front row forward to match Leota for his aggression in attack and defence, and someone's going to have to step up to fill that void of Fisher Harris. The bigger loss, though, for me, is Jerome Luai, because this means Cleary is going to have a new permanent halves partner for the first time since 2019, since James Maloney was at the club. So that halves combination between Cleary and Luai it goes back to their junior days, so there was a good combination there. It just so happened Cleary got the nod earlier than Luai to get into first grade and has had that little bit extra time to build his game in first grade. But Luai really has come into his own the last couple of seasons. That's going to be a big loss. Now, I think Schneider's probably more likely to be Cleary's halves partner because he's got that NRL and Super League experience and he's played a fair bit of first grade. I think he's more likely to get the nod to begin with, but it's going to be interesting competition for that other halves slot. It's going to be very interesting how that affects the spine, the attack down the left and the attack down the right, because Cleary can play left or right, and he is a bit interchangeable, but also Cleary's fitness as well. We've seen he's had issues with his hamstrings and his shoulder, so he's been managing a few injuries the last couple of seasons, and that hamstring has proven problematic, but also that shoulder injury has proven problematic as well. So managing his minutes as well, potentially in the pre-season training and in the pre-season trial matches, just maybe not overdoing him, could be interesting. If Cleary's to go down injured, is there enough depth and structure in the halves? Because they let Jack Cogger go as well. And Jack Cogger is one of the main reasons why they win that grand final, because he allowed Cleary time and space to work his magic in the last 20 minutes. If it's not for Jack Cogger coming on and replacing an injured Luai, I don't think they win that grand final a couple of years ago at the death, quite honestly, in my opinion, which Jack Cogger was the main man to come on and basically should have started the game with how Luai was bashed up and was being targeted defensively. So they've lost that depth as well in the halves. Dylan Edwards is a fantastic fullback, and now he's made it with the Australian side. I think he's an underrated fullback. So they've got Kenny, Cleary, and Edwards. That's three quarters of the spine we know are going to be the starting spine. It's just who's going to partner Cleary, because Luai's gone, and I think losing Luai is going to be a massive loss, which I just don't think. I think it's going to make it harder for them to win 5 in a row. But I said that last year, and I said it the year before, and yet with the players they've lost, they've still managed to absorb those losses. The players that come in fit the system, and the system fits them, and the system makes players better players. And a lot of that has to go to Ivan Cleary with how he sets the side up. It's going to be tougher for them this season. I do think the gap has closed between the Panthers and the Storm and the rest of the chasing pack. I think it's going to be closer at the top this coming season. And I do think the Panthers this may be a few players lost too far. This could be a bit of a down year for them potentially. But I don't think they're going to be outside the top 4. I still think they're going to be a top 4 side. I can't see a massive drop off because, not for the most part, the core of the side has stayed the same. The majority of the Elite 30 has stayed the same. It's only a handful of players every season who seem to be moved on. They manage their cap better than a lot of teams, which also helps with the continuous success. And players are willing to sign for a bit less to stay at the Panthers, give them a hometown discount for the most part. Now, Fisher Harris was for personal family reasons. He wanted to go back to New Zealand. Taruva early on decided that he wanted to earn a little bit extra coin and go to the Tigers and wanted to work with Benji Marshall. And then Luai also decided that he wanted to be the guy running the team, not just the lieutenant helping out the general. So Luai's obviously developed as a player. He wanted to challenge himself. He's obviously won all these premiership rings and has been very, very good doing it. And it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to these losses. I think the first 5 or 6 weeks into the season will give us a good idea of how their attack is going to work and how their defence is going to work without these key players. But I would say they're still joint favourites alongside the Storm to win both the minor premiership and the grand final. I think it will be tougher, but can they do it? Place your thoughts in the comments section below. I'll be very interested to hear from Penrith fans or just fans of the NRL what they think the final season outcome is. But for me for now, thank you very much for watching. Can they continue to make history? Time will tell. But for me for now, thank you very much, and I will have some more content for you guys and girls very, very soon.